its root and the ways that it shows up, not only in the area that we consider to be our country, but as we consider it around the globe, it leaves room for it to raise its head, show up again. We find that same pattern as it relates to our brothers, sisters, and non-gender conforming folks in Ghana, in Sudan, as we're seeing the uprisings that are happening right now. People are looking at the image of an individual woman who we see, and we're so excited to be able to see it. But we need not forget the major role that collectivity plays in uprisings. There is no one individual, man, woman, child, boy, any other individual of any kind that forms an entire and complete uprising. I wanted to highlight a particular story when I was thinking about revolutionary music and how it's been able to penetrate our hearts and minds in the most accelerated way, which is why art has been seized by colonizers then and colonizers now, as a direct way to condition us when it's an enormous tool to elevate consciousness and unify revolutionaries. When I came to know about the music of Nigerian musician Fela Kuti, I immediately had to know who his mother was. I wanted to understand what kind of influence had been upon Fela. It led me on an awesome journey because I discovered the revolutionary life of his mother, and I understood that Ransom Kuti, who had, after growing up in a colonized land, sought information for herself, discovered concepts of anti-colonialism and socialism. What was most amazing to me about her story is that she went on to become an educated woman who said she wanted to come back and contribute to her people. She wanted to actually lead efforts to teach literacy. She wanted to actually lead efforts to start a nursery. She wanted to actually lead a founding women's organization. It was a ladies' club. She experienced a transformation, though, because she understood that the route that she was taking was one that promoted offering charity. But she didn't want to be a woman who offered charity. She wanted to be a woman who understood we need to transform this ladies' club into what we can consider to be an actual union. She goes on to experience a transformation and elevation of her own social consciousness, and she took action. She decided to take this women's organization that she had, and she wanted to basically be able to seize the moment for an uprising, to be able to really attend to what was happening with the Nigerian government, because they were seizing the rights of the women in the market to sell for themselves, giving the women no compensation because they were government officials. They saw the women as prey for their exploitation. But Ransom Kuti saw this as an organizational opportunity. She understood that she not alone could do anything. Any individual alone could not do anything, but together they could politicize their organization and move from charity work into solidarity work. She understood that if women were free, a nation could get free. The women moved collectively and began to revolt and organize. They changed the name again of their organization from being a ladies' club into a women's union, a sign that they were politically and prepared to fight for their rights and no longer tolerate the oppression and exploitation. I zoom in on that particular example because I think about what it means for us here today. I think about what it means for us in the work that we do today. And I think about what it means for us as we even think about ourselves as women who are doing organizing work. What role does that mean for everybody else who doesn't identify as a woman? What does it mean for every single time somebody decides that they're going to colonize a land, they decide to focus on who they perceive through a narrative to be the least among us? But see, what the women understood was that they were not to be considered just the most oppressed. They were going to be the most liberated. They were going to come together, work together collectively, and they were going to uprise. And even if it meant that people who looked just like them decided that they were going to compromise the work or compromise the movement, they were going to stay firm to their principles of liberation. They were going to stay firm to their principles of not partial liberation, but complete liberation. And I want to just emphasize, as it relates to the work that we're doing here with the workers group, there are so many tangible examples that exist around the globe of resistance work. I challenge each and every one of us to do self-examination when we think about the things that we're learning, and how we can apply it, and how we can think about the ways in which we're moving through the world that may assist us in that collective work versus that individual work. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Big E.
All right, thank you, man. Give it up for Zanaz again. This was after helping organize and a big party we had last night, and we had a meeting this morning. We had fun Thursday. It don't stop. That was a great, like encapsulation of how this work affects us across the globe and not just here in the city. And how it is that we can have that collective unity, and just the history on Pedophilia, because we used that song "Fight to Win" as the theme song for the radio show, and I didn't know that about his mom, man. That was a critical thing. But so now, we want to transition and, make the connection again from going from a little bit of Northern Africa. Now we're going to bring it on down to Southern Africa, down there to the south. And what's happening there, the uprisings that's taking place there. So realize, like, as they call it South Africa right now, used to call it Rhodesia. The dude Rhodes, Cecil Rhodes, brutal. Like dude that took over the country over, like very tricky ways, and eventually exploited the people, got the diamonds and whatnot, and when you talk about the De Beers Company and the diamonds and everything of that nature, that's how he got so much, he got so much banking wealth. They had took down one of his statues, when was that? That was like in the 90s, sometime in the 90s. Took down the Rhodes statues, and that was the people, that took it upon themselves and yanked that thing down and threw feces at it and everything. Like, just to bring up with the statues piece, like somebody told me, whenever they bring down one of those statues, that your ancestors are smiling, like, and we recognize that ain't the end all be all, it's the symbol. That's the symbol of the system of white supremacy, right? But, it's still powerful in the sense that that's something that we as a collective accomplished, and it's what we getting at, behind those symbols and what they represent. So that's what that organizational drive of Take Them Down Order does. And, as a way to shout out the ancestors too, because those things were put up, man, after slavery. Here in New Orleans, those things were put up after slavery, and black people accomplished in 30 years, whether it being lawyers, doctors, teachers, congressmen, 30 years after slavery, they accomplished all them things. And so they had that, and this is after 300 years of being in chains and whatnot. And so, like they had to have that vicious clapback and put them statues up and, to try to put them back in their place. And then they had more regressive laws all in the way. And not only here in New Orleans, but abroad, in the motherland as well. There was all kind of vicious attacks on African peoples down there in South Africa. But there's been resistance as well, besides just Mandela and his movement. There was also many other communist and revolutionary organizations that were able to, push back. And right now, they got to fight for the land, because that was a sort of problem with after Mandela got out, didn't take the land back, and that's something that is still getting at right now, because like Ms. Ange was saying, you gotta have that land, man, that's the crucial component to any sort of independence and whatnot. So next up, we got the illustrious Malcolm Suba coming up. I like to refer to him as Black